By the way, I think one thing that's true about Briar is, well, there's a lot of characters that like are just straight up completely unviable at high MMR, and Briar might look like that, like when you look at her win rates. I think that actually with enough practice, you can make Briar viable at high MMR, because she actually really heavily scales with decision making. And so if you really, really, really know how to take perfect fights, I think Briar can work at high MMR, actually. But it's probably a lot more work to make her work than other junglers. So unless you really like her, it's probably not even worth it to play her at high MMR. But like, I do think like she's maybe better than you would expect once you like have good decision making about the fights you take and know your limits. She's like a multiple choice test champion, exactly. Riot exists to make August happy, exactly. That's why they buffed Briar. They knew that I was feeling down, and Phlox went to Freak and he said, "Freak, August has been literally crying on stream. You need to help him before he crashes out." Freak said, "Okay, I've got just the thing. 35 base health on Briar." And then I won 14 games in a row. If you all want to see something that's really disgusting, if you haven't been in the stream recently, if you want to see something really gross, really just blatant abuse, it's my match history. Not these ones, not these ones. You know, we're getting a lot of wins. You know, we're doing well. We got like a 60% win rate recently. Pretty good. But if you go down here and you show more, it just keeps going. It just keeps going. There's only wins. So yeah, that's blatant abuse of OP characters. Disgusting, really. No comment on Phlox also being a Briar main. Yeah, Phlox is also a Briar main. We got a bunch of Briar gamers out here. So far it's performing 0.5% worse than 80 carries. So when you're looking at item data, one of the things you have to remember is items that are bought less frequently will have higher win rates. So as an example, if you see an item that has a 90% purchase rate and another item that has a 10% purchase rate in the same slot, and they're the same price as well, the second item's win rate will look higher than it actually is. And the first item's win rate will look lower than it actually is, to some degree. And so being picked a lot deflates an item's win rate, because it means a lot of bad people are picking it. And being picked very little inflates an item's win rate, because a lot of, like, you know, people who are like more keyed into what items do and what's good and bad are picking it. So in that case, if there's an item that's like fairly uncommon and has a slightly lower win rate than the super common one, then it's highly likely that item is actually just bad compared to the common one. You would expect the uncommon items to be, at the very least, slightly higher than the common items in terms of win rate, to be equally as good. Assuming everything else is held constant, like slot number, cost, things like that. So another thing you have to think about is cost. Items that are more expensive have higher win rates, because just having in that item in your inventory when it costs more gold means you're more likely to be winning, because what happens when you're winning? You have more gold, right? And so the more expensive an item is, the higher the win rate you would expect from it. Why do mages always have the highest win rate bot lane? One of the ways you could describe it is because one of the things you have to know about mages bot lane is that they're uncommon. And so is it possible that mages are strong bot lane? 100%. There's some win rate that mages have bot lane that's probably too high. But I would guess that if a mage had the exact same win rate as an AD carry in bot lane, then that mage, because they are so unpopular down there, would be fairly weak compared to that AD carry in the average situation. The reason for this, to me, is AD carries are balanced around each other, right? And so when you see an AD carries win rate in bot lane, because bot lane is almost exclusively AD carries, like there's very, very few other types of champions that go there, really ever. Every single's AD carries win rate is based off of their comparison to the other AD carries. And so this is why, by the way, like you can have all the AD carries at win rates at 50%, and they could still be weak compared to the rest of the game, or strong, right? Like you could literally have every AD carry at 50%, and then the role could be terrible. You could also have every AD carry at 50%, and the role could be insanely overpowered, because due to the fact that almost all bot laners are AD carries, they're so common down there, they're balanced all against each other. And so then the question comes up, what happens when you add a champion to the mix that's outside of that ecosystem, right? Like a mage, as an example. And I would say mages in bot lane, to some degree, are balanced, like, in terms of their win rate. Their win rate reflects their ability to interact with AD carries, and typically, mages at various points in the game are expected to interact with AD carries favorably, because what's a mage trying to do? They're trying to burst you out. What's an AD carry trying to do? Not get bursted. Like, mages with their kits kind of like one-shotting AD carries in a variety of situations. So I'm not saying like mages are perfectly balanced down there or something, but what I'm getting at is like AD carry win rates are kind of apart from other classes because they're so strictly balanced around each other. And then mage win rates probably have some indication of like, oh, you are like countering the meta in this lane. And so I would personally expect that if a mage had the same win rate as the AD carries in the lane, like, 50% or below, that mage is likely weak, actually, in that lane. Not balanced, but weak. Now, should a mage have a 58% win rate in bot lane? Probably not. That probably indicates that mage is strong. But, yeah, just some thoughts about it. With TP creating scenarios where you can die and win lane, you considered a lockout on death? I mean, that could fix some problems, but I think it'd be very, very against the spirit of TP. Like, TP, like, if you think about what that spell is, right? TP is kind of like, I can get across the map in a timely manner. And one of the main places you're going to be wanting to use it is when you die. And so that would help with, like, early game advantages. It would feel, like, very, very against the spirit of the spell in general. To me, at least. Like, just having it whenever you resurrect, your TP is already on cooldown. Mainly, like, I guess I would say, like, it would be very unfun, is maybe a way I would say it. Like, it would be grating for the spell, is my opinion. Yeah, it would just be very grating for the spell. And, yeah. That's one thing you really want to think about in terms of game design. Here's, like, a game design thought for you all. There are certain ways that you can make something bad as a designer that will, like, achieve the goal of making it weaker, or achieve the goal of, like, making it, like, less problematic in certain ways, but can potentially go against the spirit of whatever it is in a way that even if you achieve your goal, it might not be worth it because of how much less fun you might make it. So, random example. We need to nerf Jhin. And we've noticed that Jin's fourth shot is strong. And so we decide we're going to take the execute off fourth shot, and we'll give him power elsewhere. And the goal is to nerf Jhin. He's too strong, right? A problem with a change like that is it would succeed at making him weaker, but very likely would do it in a way that, like, goes against the spirit of how the character works. Because, like, if Jin's fourth shot was bad, then, like, his whole reload mechanic would also start feeling bad. And suddenly a lot of Jhin players would be like, why am I even playing this character? I'm forced to reload, and what are the benefit I get, right? And so it's generally important that Jin's fourth shot is strong. And of course, that doesn't mean we couldn't ever nerf it, right? But, like, if we ever were like, we need to remove the execute on it, it would be like, that could succeed at a goal of making him weaker while being, like, very, very dangerous for the character as a whole. And so that's something worth thinking about, is not, and this is, like, why teleport is difficult, by the way. It's like, teleport does legitimately a lot of, like, really good things for the game, and is, like, fun in a lot of different ways. And so there's ways we could nerf teleport that would effectively nerf it, but either make it, like, way, like, less fun, or, like, or lose some of the things that, like, are valuable for having it in the game, like, say, top laner resilience and stuff like that.